All right. All right. 20 minutes tops. Oh, you need that. All right. It'll have to do. All right, this is Sports for Real with Coach Hall with another AM Sports Bite. And what I'm chewing on today is what I'm starting to notice with these sports and betting lines. So the question is, are these games really rigged? You have to wonder. Let me give you a couple of examples. Last night, Minnesota had the second game of the back-to-back against Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City was up by 16 with 3:41 in the game. They pull out Anthony Edwards, and all of a sudden, the team gets hot, and they get it all the way to the point where the game is forced into overtime. And Minnesota comes back and wins the game. Now, Edwards at that point, he hadn't reached the lines that he was supposed to be getting. And because he hadn't reached the lines, it's easy to say that the coach, he pulled the player out because he didn't think the team had a chance to win. Well, if that's the case, that is flawed thinking, because knowing how NBA historically goes back and forth, you can be down by 30 points and go on a 25-3 run. I've seen it a million times. It's the ebb and flow. It's the natural flow of the game, because basketball is a chance game. You know, you can shoot 100 shots, hit 90, and then miss your next 50. That's just the way that basketball works. And to take your star player out when you need them the most, you need them in there firing shots. But a lot of times, NBA teams don't do that. And you wonder if the betting line has anything to do with when these coaches pull these players out. Now, another player that is kind of suspect is I've been watching Denver. You know, that guy Jokic, he's averaging a triple-double for the whole season. But the last couple of games, he hadn't done so well. He's not meeting his numbers. And then there have been a couple of times where he'd jump out and have like 25 points in the first 2.5 quarters. Then by the end of the game, you don't have anything else. Why? How can you dominate a game for 2.5 quarters and then don't score for the rest of the game? Did they suddenly come up with some kind of miracle defense? No. I'm quite certain, and nobody has shown me otherwise, that these coaches, to me, they are paying attention to the line, and when their players get close to that line, they'll pull them out of the game. This is what makes sports betting so risky, because it looks like your player is going to get there, and all of a sudden, they'll pull them out of the game. It's not like I can understand if it's a blowout and you want to rest your players, and by blowout, I mean by 30-plus points. But when you got a game that's hotly contested, and all of a sudden, the star player is not playing, questions need to be asked. Why is he not in there? It doesn't make sense. All right, let me see what's going on before I get lost. Graham Roten. I like how people think that sports are rigged, even though the people who participate in them have tried their entire life to get as good as they are to be a professional. But once you become a professional or anything else, you cross over the line and you're into a different world. I am not saying that these guys, the games are rigged. I say these are something that you might want to question. And just give you a point about what I mean about stepping across the line. I saw an interview the other day on the Pivot podcast with Richard Seymour, and he made the comment about how he wasn't overly concerned about making it to the Hall of Fame. But once he got into the Hall of Fame and they walked him into that back room, he knew this is something that is completely different, that is foreign to people who aren't in the club. In other words, he knows and he experiences things that you can't experience unless you're in that club. So who's to say during these symposiums what kind of real messages they get concerning about being in these new sports leagues, especially with all this money that's floating around. And you actually get an introduction to it when you go to college, because now college is swimming with money for the players. So all these things need to be asked. But me, am I saying it's rigged? No. But I'm saying you might want to take a look at it. That's all I'm saying. It's real loser behavior. I can understand that. Nobody's 100% on their game all the time. My guy, this is my guy, this, I know you do. Well, like I said, I'm not um, giving my 100% opinion on it. I'm just talking about the subject. And you bet on sports, that's why you think it's rigged, because you're sucking the side of which team might win. Listen, man, I'm not a gambler, but I watch things. And I just notice how some players get pulled out of the games at certain points when theoretically it does not make sense. Like I said, Jokic is somebody to watch. He'll pull him out. He might have 25, 26 points in the first 2.5 quarters. And then all he needs is 28 points to cover. And then he doesn't play anymore for the rest of the game, and the game is contested. Why is that the case, is all I'm asking. It doesn't make sense. Now, let's see what people are saying. Are sports game really rigged? 60% of you say no. I like to think that the sports aren't rigged. And if it ever got out the truth about which way they are, especially if they are rigged, then that's going to be a loss of money for a whole lot of people, because people are just going to stop participating. Now, you're going to have a whole bunch of them that are addicted. And regardless of the fact that they find out that it's rigged, they'll still keep betting. But for the lay people who are on the fringes, and they're not going to do it because they're already leery about it anyway. But I will say this, like I say, I watch it. Those guys that do those odds, I don't know how they come up with them, but they're real good at what they do. And I'm sure they're well compensated for it, because with billions of people betting, a lot of money changing hands, these guys setting these odds, they're well worth it, because they are making some money for the house. Hopefully it ain't rigged. We got, everything could be rigged. You're right. But that was a good comment there, though, Graham. A lot of people think that it is rigged because they lose. It's just a loser's mentality, just like you said. So, like I said, that it's just something I'm noticing, and it just make you think sometimes. But sports really is entertainment, and the players now, they're making it obvious that they don't really give a damn if they win or lose. They act like they care, but in the end, as long as those checks are coming in, they don't really care. And it's going to get worse. You got that TV contract that's going to kick in, and they're talking about $1 billion player in the NBA. So you think $1 billion player in the NBA really cares if you don't win a championship? You think he really cares if you upset when he starts load managing? No. And because of that, sports, you're either going to like the sport and watch it, or you're going to say, no, it's got ridiculous and I don't want to watch this anymore. All right. In a trap, say it ain't loser behavior when it's the truth. Hey, man, I'm just repeating what the guy said ahead of you, Graham Roden. I don't know if he's still on or not, but he made a good point. Some people do believe that things are set up when they don't work out. But, on the flip side of that, people do make excuses for why they lose. But yeah, man, in the trap, this your first time coming through, man. I think I've seen his name before. JC, what's going on? Some people feel the Super Bowl was rigged because KC got blown out. But I feel he just played a great game to beat KC. Well, I told you guys long before what happened to Kansas City was going to happen. Now, that's not to say that I picked Philadelphia to blow out Kansas City. I felt like Philly would win. But when you keep winning close game after close game after close game and everything seems to go your way, um, odds are eventually that thing is going to shift. And when it shifts hard. It's just like a Cinderella team. They go on a run and they upset all these teams they had no business beating, and they finally win the championship. One or two things are going to happen. Either they're going to continue to play the ball that allowed them to upset people, or their coach going to turn into a pumpkin, man, and they're going to get blown out on national TV. That's happened before also. All right, don't knock the Chiefs. Their fire team just wasn't their game. Well, it just proved my point. I never met a quarterback who could throw it his back. And they put the pressure on Mahomes, and he started looking around for the rush and make all the difference in the world. And, all these teams are copycat. What they're going to do, they're trying now to beef up their front fours so they can go after quarterbacks like Mahomes, because it doesn't matter how well you can throw if you don't have time to throw or you're laying on your back. And speaking of quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, he's trying to get re-signed with the Rams, but he wants $50 million a year. Stafford is a good quarterback, but Stafford is also 37 years old. Of course, teams are going to be reluctant to want to pay a quarterback that old that kind of money. But there are some teams he could go to that he can help immediately. Just like he helped the Rams, he can go to a team like Pittsburgh and improve their fortunes overnight. The question is, can you keep him healthy? Remember, he's 37 years old. He could fall apart at any time. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But he's really upset because they want to get rid of Cooper Kupp. They're either going to trade him or cut him if they can't. And pretty much Kupp is gone from the Rams, and probably Stafford too. They're probably not going to pay him that $50 million, but they go pay a jackleg quarterback like a Sam Darnold. He might get $35 million. Yeah, you might as well pay that $15 million to keep Stafford in if you're going to have a run, because Donald is not reliable down the stretch. That guy lost about, in the last two games that Minnesota played, he played so bad. He lost about at least $10, $12 million a year just on those two games. He lost a whole lot of money behind that because he didn't finish. Had he been able to finish, then he would have been straight. But I just don't see him being the option if you really want to get over that next level. He can be a good stopgap. He probably should go back to Minnesota, but they got that log jam at quarterback. McCarthy's going to be back. You got Daniel Jones. If you keep Donald, you got a whole lot of quarterbacks in there with some hefty salaries. Even with the salary cap going up to almost $280 million, you still don't have enough money to pay all three of those guys. And especially, you don't want to pay these guys if they haven't all produced. It's a risk to sign Daniel Jones to a big contract because he didn't do much with the Giants. And McCarthy, he's basically still a rookie. So what is Minnesota going to do? Now, it would be surprising if Stafford would go to a team like that, but I don't even see why he would do that, even though Minnesota could use a quarterback like a Stafford. But if you got McCarthy that's coming back, he's showing promise that he can play the game, there's no place there for him there either. So it would be sensible for Stafford to go to a place like Pittsburgh. That's not far away, just need a few other pieces. But if they're going to pull that move, the Steelers, then what are you going to do with Justin Fields? More than likely, they're going to keep him, ship off Russell Wilson, because Fields now is hot, just like all the other running quarterbacks. You know that you can win a Super Bowl with one of these guys. And because of that, he's going to get more of an opportunity to be a starting quarterback. And that's going to extend all the way back to college now. Even an inconsistent quarterback like a Jalen Milroe, who people had projected that he should change positions, he's going to be in position now where he's going to have an opportunity to make a roster because he's a running quarterback. So we'll see how that goes. What else we got here? If the Rams lose Kupp and Stafford, they would be in rebuild mode. Well, they're all in rebuild mode. That's what free agency period is for. They already have their plans in mind about what they want to do. It's just a matter if they can get lucky with the draft and land on somebody that can help them right now. But it's not a whole lot of difference between the top team and the bottom team. So as long as you don't do something really stupid, you can compete. But a 37-year-old quarterback, do you really want to gamble that he's not going to get broken up on the next play? That's what I thought was going to happen to Tom Brady, but they didn't get to him. Primarily because of the rules now and the respect that the players have. He wouldn't really want to fold him up anyway, but you don't give a damn who Tom Brady or Matthew Stafford is. You're going to put that helmet right in the middle, and that's going to be it for that quarterback, regardless of what the rules say. But it'd be interesting to see what takes place with the Rams, but I think that they're going to be okay. All right, see what else we got here. More new votes. Yeah, I just been noticing how these betting lines go, and I don't know how they come up with them. I think it has something to do with the averages that the team has been producing over the course of the year, and I think that's how they come up with their lines. But they're real good at what they do, and it seems to be however you bet, they always sit to follow right along that area. So you like on the edge the whole time. And something like last night when you pull a Edwards thinking that the game was over, he wasn't going to cover. But then all of a sudden they come back and go on a run to send it into overtime. He comes in and he makes it. So whatever happens, whether you win or lose, it's going to be exciting most of the time. Unless it's just a pure blowout like what you saw with the Hornets the other day. They got beat, by 50 points? That's ridiculous for a professional team to get beat like that. They're basically saying they don't have a team that can compete on that level. So anytime you see something like that, it's time for an overhaul. And I believe Michael Jordan, that's his program. All right, JC says they say Minnesota will re-sign Donald, keep McCarthy, and they try to trade Daniels. They just picked him up. Yeah, but why pick him up if you have unless you want to use him as a trade bait to try to get some kind of capital for him. But if the Giants discarded him basically for nothing, what do you think Minnesota's going to be able to get? He didn't play any games for them. So you can't really say what his value is going to be. I say re-sign them all, have them fight it out in training camp, and cut the one or two that you don't want. But Donald, he's probably going to move on to a team like the Raiders. That's what they're talking about anyway. But I don't think that they're going to keep Donald. I think they probably keep Jones before they keep him. Why? Because that's the kind of silly stuff they do in the NFL. He probably was sold on Donald, but the way he struggled those last couple of games made him rethink that position. So that's why I say Donald is probably going to be out. Hell, he might end up in Pittsburgh or the Jets. They're talking about him going back to the Jets. That'd be a dumb move, but we'll see, man. These people make some dumb moves. But the draft, the top three quarterbacks, you got Ward, Sanders, and Jackson Dart's moving up. And there's always some quarterback or two you never heard of who might just be the best quarterback in the whole lot. So only time will tell on that. But if it was me and I'm a top tier quarterback, unless I just had to go, I'm going to stay in college and make as much money as I can. Have some fun, build some stats, and just enjoy the college life as opposed to jumping out there into that high pressure NFL world. Because as good as Jaden Daniels was and how easy he made it look, it's not that easy. And most quarterbacks not going to have that kind of success. So, but the ones like Anthony Richardson, have a guy like Daniels come in and look that good. Now the coach looking at you like, man, what is your problem? That is another guy. I think they should have stayed in college because even though he has the bill and the somebody that can grow into the position in the future, he was just too inconsistent over the few stars that he did have in Florida. So I never understood why they made that move in the first place. But maybe it turned out to be something in the future. But right now, he don't look that good to me. But yeah, just to recap, I didn't have a whole lot to talk about today. I just thought about the betting lines and why coaches pull certain players out at certain times, especially when the game is competitive and you just sit them there. And it just happened to be at the time when they just right on the lines for what they're supposed to be betting wise. And it just makes you wonder. And it kind of brought that into light last night with the T-Wolves down by so much. You pull your star players, and he was under his line, and all of a sudden you go to overtime. So just something to think about in this wild sports world. But anyway, I appreciate you guys chiming in with me. Been another AM Sports Bike. Come on sometime around 6:30 every morning for about 15 to 20 minutes. That's good enough to get you started. Hopefully I can come back in at some point during the day. I hadn't been that way. I've been doing baseball lately and trying to get a program turned around, um, involved with the team. I told you guys before in high school baseball, it's really the haves and the have-nots. If you coaching a team with players that have a lot of experience doing travel ball, then you're probably going to be pretty good. But I'm not in that situation. I got a bunch of players that come to me in the 9th, 10th grade, say, I want to play baseball, but you never played baseball before. I can understand if you came up like we did. Yeah, we had our own little sports leagues in the neighborhood, and we played all the time. So you didn't have to play a travel team to be experienced with us, but kids don't play like that anymore. So the kids that come to me, they don't have any experience at all, and you got to pretty much teach them from scratch. But if you got a bunch of 10th and 11th graders that never played, they're on the varsity level. So how are you going to play varsity level with players that never played before? I'm afraid sometimes to think what kind of teams can actually beat me, and it's a scary thought. But I don't want to get into that right now. But let me check these votes again. Most people say Riggs game is not rigged, and I would probably tend to agree, but I just wonder. So anyway, if you like me running my mouth a little bit about this sports world, I might say something that you hadn't thought about before. And if that's the case, like and subscribe, man. Share me up. Let's get this thing on the road. My numbers go up and I start doing more exotic things. I did go to school for this journalism stuff, so I know how to edit and all that. So I can do top tier stuff. I just really don't have a whole lot of time for it right now. But as the numbers go up and the interest is there, then I start putting out some really high level content. But I appreciate you guys just listening to me talking about this sports world as I see it. And there's a whole lot going on out there to make people wonder what's really going on. So I try to give it to you as I get it. And one other thing, the Eagles has been reported that they're not going to the White House. Well, that's not entirely true. They say they will go to the White House if they are invited. And he hasn't invited them yet, to my understanding. But I think in the end, this time Philadelphia will go to the White House. They didn't go last time, but I think they end up going this time. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. All the traditions seem to be going out the window nowadays, and that's just another one. So until next time, you guys have a great day wherever you are in the world. This is Sports for Real AM Sports Bike. Until next time, I'm out. Got to go to work.